How do you maintain communication? And Jeannette, you lived through a bunch of deployments. We went through 2 together. You went through 5 or whatever together. How do you maintain that connection? Or again, maybe it's I wish we had done something different to maintain closeness and connection, even though there's physical separation. How do you do that? What does that look like? Because I think it's easy, well, I know it is, for the deployed service member to just kind of compartmentalize, well, this is what I'm doing now. I was actually asked this question yesterday. As a dad and as a husband, how did you deal with being in Iraq, and what was the struggle that went on there? And I've never really been asked that, and I was like, well, you just kind of, this is what I'm doing now. So this is what I'm doing, and then when I go home, I'll do that. But that creates problems on the other side. How do you maintain connection when there's physical separation? And again, maybe it's, I wish we had done this, or I know people that have done this.
Yeah. Well, I wish we would have done a lot. Because it would have prevented so many other problems.
Yeah.
I wish we would have just talked more. I wish we would have planned things before him leaving places, even if it was training for a few days or training for a few weeks. I wish we would have planned.
Planned like what?
You know how they say you should date your spouse?
Yeah.
I wish we would have just dated each other.
Yeah.
Because it was just trying to get through days to then deal with the days gone and then appreciate the time afterwards.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's the build up to the leaving.
Yeah.
And you're just struggling through that together.
Yeah.
And then they're gone, which, I've heard people say, my wife has said, sometimes them leaving is a relief because now all that struggle's gone. So they're gone. And then you've got that time of separation and then they come back. So yeah, dating through that preparation time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we could have. Well, even now, heck, I wish we could date more now.
Right. And it's intentionality, I think, is what you're both saying, is you have to be very intentional about what you do.
Oh, yeah.
I think the military does a good job of communicating. These are some of the feelings you're going to feel while they're gone. These are some of the issues you're going to have. You need to make sure your will is filled out, and you've got a list of all of the service companies for the car, for the house, for the whatever. Make sure all that's in order and your finances are in order. But how to be intentional about your relationship is something that is often missed. And that's why it creates so much struggle on the other side.
And the emotions that come along with some of that, because you talk about all the stress that comes with getting ready for your spouse to leave, and there is the kind of that buildup of, man, I wish they would just leave. And sometimes there's the yanking back and forth. It's going to be this day and it's going to be this day, and oh, never mind, it's going to be next week, and then it's going to be 2 weeks from now, and oh wait, it's tomorrow. So there's so much back and forth like that you kind of I just want them to leave so I can stop struggling with this, and it's very stressful.
Yeah.
And then that in turn makes you a stressful parent, and all of that affects the whole house.
Yeah.
So I think dealing with the emotions of it is something that would have been nice to know. And it's a thing. Everyone, military families talk about it. The emotions that come along with the workup,
Right.
and then there is that initial kind of relief, okay, now I can start the deployment phase of this thing, because it's all.
Yeah.
All the phases of
Right.
someone getting ready to leave. And so it is just the emotions of it that I don't think I was not prepared for.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Other than, we need to date through this time. That's a great way to say that. We need to be very intentional about our relationship during the build-up and in the process that leads to the deployment. What are some other things maybe that you wish you had done or wish you had known about that time that would have helped?
I wish that maybe I had made a better effort to allow you to connect with the kids a little bit better, when you came home, during the times that you were at home, because it's really easy to compartmentalize, like you said, and so you do your thing, I do my thing. So my thing was the kids in the house, and your thing was whatever you were doing. And so I, took care. You were, and I did everything at home. I did everything with the kids, and I just don't think I did a very good job of allowing you to be a part of that process. As the kids got a little bit older, and then as we had,
right.
Another child, I don't think that I did a really good job of allowing you to participate and just to be a part of their lives when they were little in that way. I just looked at it as my thing. And
Right. Maybe you can both talk about this. Susanne, you've definitely talked about this before. I think you and I have talked about it before, is the roles in marriage and how those roles don't change, or they shouldn't change. The roles shouldn't change simply because a deployment has taken place. The husband is still the husband, the wife is still the wife, the roles that we fulfill, husband and wife, those shouldn't change during the time of separation, even though functionally how those are played out may change, but the responsibility that goes along with those shouldn't change. And I think that's a big roadblock that people inadvertently throw in front of themselves. Can you guys talk about that a little bit? Because that's a really important conversation, I think.
I've heard women talk about their husbands coming back from deployment, and they talk about, there's a reintegration, and so they talk about that, and I know what people mean when they say that.
And that's real. That's
it's a real
true.
thing, yes. But for families, I've heard women say, when my husband comes home, I have to let him lead the home again. I have to let him take that leadership position again. I have to give that up to him again. And I would always challenge that and say, that should have never changed in the first place.
People will say, I had to be mom and dad while he was gone, and those kind of things, right?
Well, it doesn't matter if your husband is home or gone. He's still the dad, and he's still your husband, and he's still the leader of your home. You don't assume that role just because he's not actually there physically to fill it.
Right.
And so still playing out your role, as helper, and all those things that you're doing to allow him to be able to do what he's doing doesn't change whether he's gone or there. And so that, I feel like, is something that we did do that I can say I'm happy that we did do that, is that we didn't have that crazy shift of, oh wow, now you're in charge again, or you're taking control again, or now you want to be the leader of our home again.
Right.
For us, that didn't change, and I think because we had the viewpoint from the beginning that this is how it was, and this is what I'm doing, this is what you're doing, this is my role, this is your role, and we didn't have that crazy just difficult time.
Right.
In our family coming together again like that, because our roles didn't change. And so that's kind of, I've challenged women with that before. It's just that thought of, it doesn't matter if he's gone. It doesn't mean you become the leader of the home. It doesn't mean you become dad. It looks different, and the things that you're doing maybe are more than you would normally do, or some of the stuff that you take on because he's not there, but you're doing those things to help him do what he's doing. And so that is a really interesting, has been an interesting thing that has, I want to say, in the last few years, I've heard kind of people talking about this quite a bit, is that's the difficulty they have, when their spouse comes home, when their husband comes home, is, now I have to give up that leadership position to him again. And I would maybe venture to say that that shouldn't have been yours while he was gone.
Yeah.
So.
That's so funny that I wish we would have done that, because I was on that other end, not necessarily looking at myself as a leader, but we had a lot of friction in our relationship with him returning back from wherever he was at. And it was tough because I had to relinquish a lot of those responsibilities to him, things that I was just so used to doing myself. And it just became a part of my daily routine with the kids and within the home. And it created a lot of friction. And I wish we would have done things that way, because it would have helped us tremendously with the reintegration process of him coming home.